What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again. A little bit of a pisto.
Brilliant. Come on.
John, I think before we start talking about Everton Spurs, I think we should start talking about some of the signings, players, opportunities we've been linked with today. First of all, another right back, 34-year-old. He's quite young, really, in terms of our right backs. Kieran Trippier. What do you think?
Well, I think he's 33 for the start.
He's literally 34 next week.
So he's still 33. Right. Listen, Sean Dyche had come out of his press conference today and said we haven't got a right back if you go through Patterson, Coleman and Young. So he comes in. I think you said today to me as well that he's also can play at left back as well, which probably gives us cover for Mykolenko if, the worst case scenario happens and he gets injured. Because as I've said for quite a while, the only cover we've got really for Mykolenko is Ashley Young. So, the right back, we haven't got any fit unless you bring one of the kids in, which we know Dinosaur Dyche won't do. So I saw to get the Kieran Trippier move. Best friends with Jordan Pickford, apparently, and I've just sent you something before that apparently he wants to leave Newcastle and come back to the Northwest. So it is a deal that I think Everton are pushing for, and I have no problem bringing Kieran Trippier in. I think he'd be more reliable, won't he, than, let's just say, the three right backs we've got on the books at the minute. You've got Patterson, who's constantly injured. You've got Seamus Coleman, who's not going to play every week. And you've got Ashley Young, who's not going to play every week. So have no problem bringing Kieran Trippier in.
Yeah, I think that the big thing for me with Kieran Trippier is, look, I'm not doubting 5, 6, 7 years ago, Kieran Trippier was a fantastic fullback, ability to bomb forward, up and down, good defensively, could whip a ball in, scored the free kick, I think it was, in the 2000 and was it 18 Euros or 2021 Euros, whenever it was. He puts us on our way in the semi-final.
It can't be 18 or 21 because they're every 4 years. So.
Yeah, it was the World Cup or the Euros. Can you just shut up? But he's always had that ability to put the ball in the box, and it's something that, in my opinion, we lack. Defensively, he's been caught out several times last season. He got caught out twice. Was it twice or 3 times against Everton, for example, last season? He was the best Everton player on the pitch. He played in the Euros. He had an okay tournament. I wouldn't say it was brilliant. And obviously for the final, I think he got replaced with Shaw. My point is, he's better than what we've got, but he isn't a long-term solution. Sean Dyche made a point today, and this was the bit that sort of surprised me a little bit, is he basically said we're not looking at anyone unless it's long-term, and I didn't feel like he needed to say anything about that because he almost tipped water all over it, which I get he's going to do. But if we all know that we are weak in so many different areas. One is left back. He can play in left back. He can play right back. He's a player that fits. So for me, I'm like you. If it's a loan, just bring him in 1 season. Hopefully he does a decent job for us. He would be leaving Newcastle with, the utmost respect and they love him. All the positives. It's not a negative to me, that transfer, even though he's 33, 34. I do think he allows us to have extra options, because one of the criticisms I've got is we're too static defensively. We don't cross the ball enough, and he does solve that problem.
Well, I think the option we've got with bringing someone like Kieran Trippier in is, obviously he's had a pre-season at Newcastle, a few weeks off, obviously, because he was in the Euros, but he's been back training with them. So I think he's the sort of player, and he looks like he keeps himself quite fit. So I think he comes straight into the team because of obviously the situation we're at with the right backs at the club. I think as soon as he does sign, if he does sign, I think he gets thrown straight in, and I don't have a problem with that. You say he's good at putting crosses into the box. Obviously, we've got some tall centre forwards there. Beto, for example, Calvert-Lewin has been starved of, any ammunition, anything like that. Good crosses into the box. Our fullbacks don't really do that. We don't really play like that, so it just worries me if we will play Trippier like that. But I think Trippier does come in and he fits straight into this Everton side straight away. So I have no problem, as I say, coming in, and he's not the best defensively. So I think if he does play at right back, I think whoever plays on the right wing, i.e. Jack Harrison, is probably going to have to come back and help him out as well, and help him defend and drop back and give him the option, to help him out, because as you say, he does get caught out.
Yeah, Calvert-Lewin's been linked with a move away today as well. One to Newcastle in some form of swap deal with Trippier, and also with Arsenal for a sort of swap deal for Eddie Nketiah. I've read the comments on Nketiah, and some people think he's really good. Some people think he's not so good. I think Nketiah is a signing who could be a good Premier League striker. I think he's quick. I think he's got the ability to beat people. I think he's dynamic enough that he can change direction. I think he does all of the things that Calvert-Lewin doesn't do, but he probably won't win headers. He probably won't win the aerial battles. But if you play the ball into his feet and let him turn, then he'll be dangerous. Doesn't really fit the Dyche mould, but Dyche is trying to change it. Is that a deal that you'd look for? Is that a deal that you'd think, yeah, okay, I could go with that?
Eddie Nketiah needs a run of games, whether it be at Arsenal, whether it be at Everton, to prove his worth. And, I think if Nketiah, say, for example, plays 20 games for Everton, Calvert-Lewin plays 20 games for Everton, I think you get more goals from Eddie Nketiah all day long. So he comes in and he does improve the forward line. As you quite rightly say, he doesn't win many headers, just Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin on his day is a beast when the ball's played up to him in the air. We've seen it in the Merseyside derby last season. He bullied their centre-halves. You don't see it enough. So, as we said on here, Dyche just come out and said he wants to play the way we change. He wants to play off the back through the midfield and play to the centre-forwards. If he's going to play like that and utilise the new players that we've had come in, i.e. Ndiaye, Lindstrom, then Nketiah will benefit from that, because we will play the ball on the floor more. But then, if we play Nketiah, or we bring Nketiah in, for example, if we bring him in, he's going to have to play the new kids, isn't he, or the new players, to get the best out of Nketiah, because it's pointless playing the long ball, like you pointed out the other day. Every time Michael Keane or Tarkowski got the ball, it was played out wide, it was played up high. Eddie Nketiah doesn't win headers like that, so we will have to change the dynamic and the way we play, but I would have Nketiah at Everton. So I don't know which Everton fans are put in the comments that wouldn't have him. But when you look at the strike force of Neil Maupay, Chimiti, Beto and Calvert-Lewin, where you've got Nketiah, who did have quite a few run of games last season for Arsenal. You're not a poor player if Arsenal sign you. You're not a poor player if you've been part of a squad that has pushed Man City for the Premier League. So, again, I drove Holgate to Ajax yesterday. I was driving in there. I'll drive to the Emirates to pick Nketiah up.
You can do both trips, to be fair. You can do one, pick him up on the way through. Yeah. Just get back through Dover or whatever way you want to go, and then back up the M42, up the M6 sort of job. You drive past me, you can pick me up on the way, mate. I'll have a chat with Nketiah on the way. All jokes aside, we are playing Arsenal this weekend. We're not. We're playing Spurs. We're playing Spurs. I'm just going to come out and say, and I'm sorry for people that think this channel is about to get negative, but it's about to get negative. I think we're going to get absolutely hammered. He comes out today in his press conference and he says he's got 14, essentially first team players. We did try and do the maths earlier, me and you, and we worked out a few more players than 14. However, I'm really worried because he come out and he said that Tarkowski is a doubt. And then you've obviously got players who he won't play because they're new. He played Beto and Lindstrom midweek Is that because they're starting this week? I don't know, because Lindstrom was a ghost against Tranmere, so that concerns me. So yeah, mate, I'm not going to lie to you. I am worried. I am worried about Young-Min Son against Mason Holgate or Dixon or whatever he chooses to do at right back, and I can't see us scoring a goal because we only created one shot on target against Brighton at home, so we're not going to create a shot on target away at Spurs. So yeah, mate, I'm worried. I'm worried.
I'm glad you said it and not me. I'm glad you're the one who'll get shot down. But again, all jokes aside, this channel has just turned really negative now. And listen, there has been times on this channel when we've both been negative, but that's what Everton do to you and making you feel like that. But I just want to get this game out the way. I want to get the game out the way. I want to play at home against Doncaster on Tuesday, see what we've got to do there, and then have a home game against Bournemouth. I wish I could go and hibernate now till 5 o'clock on Saturday night, because I don't give us much chance. But then on the flip side, what I said last night, we do play better away from home. It's just that it's very rare we have to have Mason Holgate at right back. Personally, if Tarkowski doesn't make it, I do think he puts O'Brien in. I actually do think he brings O'Brien in. It's just the other players that I wondered if he's going to give a chance to, as in Ndiaye. Not too fussed about Lindstrom. I've seen enough of him against Tranmere to think that he needs more time to bed in. But I do think he brings O'Brien in, and we went through the team, didn't we? The team that we'd like and the team that we think he plays, and it was quite different, wasn't it? But we all know what Mr. Dyche is like, so it's a game that I don't give us much hope, and I do apologise to all the thousands of Everton fans who were going to make that trip down south to listen to that. But I don't think many of them are travelling give us a chance either. So
come on then. Right, Everton team. So this is my team, and this is the way that I believe Sean Dyche may well set up for this game. I actually think he'll go 3-5-1-1. I think he'll go with if Tarkowski is fit. I'm actually presuming he's gonna be. So I'm going O'Brien, Tarkowski, Michael Keane. I'm going Jack Harrison as right wing back. I'm going Mikalenko as left wing back. I'm going a midfield three of O'Neill, Garner,
McNeil.
And McNeil, not O'Neill, McNeil, and Tim Ibrahimovic. And I'm going Decore and Calvert-Lewin up front.
Yeah, it's not much difference. You can either play with Mason Holgate at right back, which I think that's what he does. The way he's talking, I think Tarkowski might make it. I think he's probably given him a few days breather just to get him fit. And I still think he sticks with Michael Keane over O'Brien. If Tarkowski doesn't make it, I think he puts Jake O'Brien in, Mikalenko at left back. I still think he sticks with McNeil. Still think he sticks with Jack Harrison. Tim in the middle. Decore up front, and one more midfielder. Could be anyone.
Garner.
You know, yeah, probably agree to Garner guy. With Decore just behind Calvert-Lewin, I'd have no problem with having Tim there and Garner there. And playing Ndiaye just behind Calvert-Lewin. I think it probably works better than having Decore there, to be fair. But listen, how often do we get the team selections right, Michael? Because we never know what this manager's going to do.
Well, for me, against Spurs, right, they're going to have the ball a lot, and I think that Everton will need to play as a low block, which is fine as long as you've got pace to get out. And the team that me and you have both just said doesn't solve that problem. I would absolutely have no issue, and this is going to sound a bit crazy, I appreciate it, but I have actually no issue if Ndiaye and Lindstrom both start, because I understand one of Lindstrom's qualities is he is quick. We need pace. So, no disrespect to Jack Harrison or McNeil. They are not the quickest. Harrison looks like he's quick, but it's only because he's got little legs. And O'Neill is not quick, but he's great at carrying the ball. So for me, Lilliman and Lindstrom are players that can get the ball from back here to up there quite quickly. Tim Ibrahimovic carries the ball really quickly as well. And Everton looked a much better side against Roma, for example, in the second half, where we were having to defend and we countered which is more similar to Spurs than we did against Brighton, where we did push forward, but we overexposed ourselves and they cut us apart. So for me, I genuinely believe that pace is the answer in this game.
Well, it takes. If you've got pace in the midfield, it takes pressure off the defence.
Well, absolutely. And the other thing I would say is, if Calvert-Lewin is going, if these discussions are going on, if something is happening behind the scenes, we know that these deals don't just happen on deadline day like that. We know that these things build up a few days before. If there is a chance that Calvert-Lewin goes and we get a fee for him, do not play him. Do not play him. Don't put the risk of him getting injured. Do not risk it. Start Beto. Beto scored 2 goals. I'm not being derogatory towards Tranmere at all. I don't know their team. I don't know if they're any good. I didn't watch the game. I know that for 70 minutes, Beto didn't look like a Premier League player. However, for 20 minutes, he did. And if that's 20 minutes of causing problems, being a bit more aggressive, trying to keep hold of the ball, trying to run through a channel, it's probably more than Calvert-Lewin's offered us recently. And that's not a dig at Lewin, because I think he's not had the service either. But my point is, we need to change it up against Spurs, because what we did against Brighton didn't work. The long diagonals didn't work, and it's only going to be worse against Spurs when you've got players like Pedro Porro who can pick up the ball and can hurt you. They've got midfielders like James Maddison, Young-Min Son. If you want to go up front, they've got Dom Solanke, who caused us problems at Bournemouth last season. We know they've got decent players, Spurs. We know they've got a good squad. It's a team that's a top 6 team, no doubt about it. Brighton were the ones that were a little bit, I don't quite know how good they are. They were very good. Spurs are probably better, and that's my worry. We're going there. They're probably better, but we can't play the same way again as we did against Brighton, because it didn't work.
I think if you played the same sort of team that probably finished the game against Roma with them tactics, we do better against Spurs than what we've done with Brighton. So he's got to start with that team that finished the game against Roma. Granted, it was a pre-season friendly, but we looked a lot better in the last 50 minutes against Roma than what we did against Brighton at any point in that game last weekend. People go on about the first 15, 20 minutes. We were shocked. Well, not that we were shocking. Brighton probably didn't need to step up like they needed to in the first 15, 20 minutes, because let's be honest about it, we didn't really look like hurting them. We had 4 offsides and a goal that was ruled out for offside. So, as you say, they've got players who can hurt us. I'm looking at the bench the other night when they played Ipswich. Leicester. Players like Kulusevski on the bench and players like that, and Brennan Johnson's another player who could easily hurt our fullbacks. It's a tough game. I just want to get it out the way.
So, score prediction. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Well, I think we're going to both predict near enough the same. I think 3-0 Tottenham.
I think 4-1. I think we might score, but I think it'll be 4-1. I think it's going to be an absolute kicking, and I want to be wrong. I'm not sitting here wishing to lose a game that bad, but I just don't see any positives. We've got a depleted squad, a manager that tactically I think is inept. I don't have an issue saying that. I think he'll. What?
How can you have so many injuries after one Premier League game this season and be predicting? I'm not asking you a question. I'm just saying how we feel. And be predicting one of us says 4-1 and one of us says 3-0. And the manager's coming out that we've only got 14 fit players when we've played one Premier League game. How is that possible? And John, I know people will go, well, we can't spend money, we've got a paper-thin squad. But if you go through players out the squad who've made 10, 12 plus appearances for this football club, there's a lot more than 14 there. So we don't know where he gets 14 from. But how bad's that? How bad's that?
Mate, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. And this is the same person that said, I think a week before the season started, the squad's in a fairly good bill of health. And yet we've got injuries coming out of our ears by the looks of it. It's not just... This is what people are forgetting, and equally I'm guilty of this. Our right backs, 39, 35, potentially another one coming in who's 34, 34, 33, 34. Our centre midfielders, 34, 35 in Ghana. You know, the whole team isn't particularly young. You know, Tarkowski, I think I don't know, but I think he's over 30.
Yeah.
Michael Keane's going to be close to it, if not over. The whole squad is aged. The whole squad. There's not much
And
youth in and around this squad. Yet we sign these young players who are quick, dynamic. You know, you've got a 6'6" Jake O'Brien. You've got a Lilliman and Dye who can cause problems. That to me smells like corners. So why are we not targeting corners with younger players who maybe a bit fitter can get up and down the pitch, who have got attributes to do that? I.e., 6'6" Jake O'Brien, stick it on his head. He scored 2 goals pre-season. Makes sense to me. There's just certain things that are just don't make sense to me. And if I'm being honest, I get it. I'm not a Premier League manager, and I never will be. But I actually think some of the things that you see as a fan are just common sense, and I don't get, because Dyche isn't the only person that does this, by the way. Every manager has got this criticism. They see the players week in, week out in training, whatever. But to us, it's common sense. If your attributes are solid defensively and you've got a 6'4" and 6'6" centre half, you make sure that you win corners and you feed them headers. Simple.
the problem you've got is we haven't got a common sense manager, have we? And this is the problem. We haven't got a common sense manager who can, and as you quite rightly say, he sees them day in, day out. But we all know the team's crying out for pace in the middle, on the wings. We all know after watching Brighton and for the last 2 years that Michael Keane's not good enough. We all know that. We all know Mason Holgate's not good enough. We all know the only way you get Premier League experience is by playing in the Premier League. It's common sense. But this manager doesn't do common sense, because what I've just said there, that's common sense to everyone. You get Premier League experience by playing. You've got Mason Holgate, who come on as a substitute before O'Brien. You've got Michael Keane, who started the game over the 6'6" defender, who needs Premier League experience. This manager doesn't do common sense, and it's blatantly obvious now that, for me, he's not good enough for our football club. Unfortunately, what do? We can't just go and sack him and pay him off and bring someone in because of the car crash that the club is at the minute. So we're stuck with him. I think Dyche feels very comfortable at the club because he knows the situation, that he can't afford to be paid off. His backroom staff can't afford to be paid off. And there's not anyone that really is running the day-to-day running of the club. So he's very comfortable. He knows he's not going to get dragged into, the owner's office. It's not going to happen. He come up with a comment the other day when he was asked at his press conference, when was the last time he spoke to Managerial, or did you have dialogue with the owner? I think his answer was something along the lines, not much more than he used to. Now it's just the same. He don't really speak. So he's comfortable in the job. He's comfortable. He's got no one giving him that boot up the arse to push him on. He's got no one calling him in the office to say, look, this isn't good enough. Brought these players in, play them. Kevin Thelwell should be doing that. He's the director of football. Give the new players a go. Start the season with them. But as we all know, half of these players probably aren't Kevin Thelwell signings, and half of them aren't Sean Dyche's signings. As you quite rightly said, when it come to Dan Juma, that wasn't a Sean Dyche signing. Was it Kevin Thelwell then? No.
Yeah, but I have a funny feeling that Lindstrom's going to end up the same.
Well, yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. I don't think Lindstrom's a Dyche signing. Totally agree, 1,000,000%. See it already. See it already. Hope approved, by the way.
But we said this pre-season. Look, I'm not. Dyche did a good job in the end last season. But what people do forget is we started the season poor and we had an horrendous run between December and March. And I think if this was any other manager, literally any other manager at any other football team, they'd have been sacked. You can't go 13 games without a win. I think it was picked up 14. I think it was something like we picked up
1 win in 15. It was the run.
Yeah, 1 win in 15, and I think there was only like 1 or 2 draws in there as well. It was horrendous. It was like 5 points in 40 or something stupid. I honestly think we can't afford to do that this season. We can't afford to, because I've seen every team play now. I've seen every team, whether it be highlights, whether it be live. I've watched enough of every single team to go, I think they could give Everton a game. Every single one, Ipswich, Southampton, you name it, Leicester, every single one of them could give Everton a game. So Everton are going to have to pick up points where they can. They can't just throw games away. But we know where we are. This team is a mess. The injuries are rampant. We're not playing to the attributes that we've actually signed. He's tried to change a style of football. He's come out and said, I am going to change the style of football, try and play a bit more attractive. Yet he reverted straight back to type on Saturday, reverted straight back to it. After the 2 games that we played, one against Preston, one against Roma, we got success from playing a different brand of football. So for me, we have to play to the style of the players we have bought in. Otherwise, we're not going to get the best qualities out of the signings that we made. It's why players like Neil Maupay never worked. He was never a number 9. He was always someone that sort of lingers around a big man and sort of feeds off the scraps. We never did that. We never did that with him. I don't like Neil Maupay. I'm just using it as an example. Dan Juma is a number 10 or a winger who could easily cut in on his right or his left foot, cause absolute chaos because he's big, he's strong, he's quick. Never utilised it. Didn't utilise it. I just, I've got this horrendous perspective of where we are, and all of this confidence that I had 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, going into the season. I was really happy, John. You know that. I was excited. I was bubbling over. I can't contain how disappointed I am. Like, I really can't. I'm struggling. And Spurs, this could be horrendous. This could be horrendous. Honestly, I'm dreading this game.
Well, we see what happens with Spurs, but then we need a performance in the cup. I hear it is only against Doncaster. I dread to think what happens if we go out of that. But then the next home game in the league is Bournemouth. We need a massive game against Bournemouth. We need to know if he's going to give these new players a go. The transfer window, I think, is shut by then, so we'll know where we are. So for me, Brighton's gone. It was a shit show. It was a car crash. It was poor. I'm not expecting much more on Saturday. So for me, and I know this sounds really, really bad, the season starts for me on Tuesday.
Yeah, agreed. And that's horrendous to say, but it does.
After one game, we're saying that. And this isn't just a pop at Sean Dyche. It's a pop at the injuries we've got. It's a pop at the manager for his tactics. It's the club as a whole. We're not pushing on with the takeover because I just don't see how this takeover happens with John Textor. So it's not just the footballing side of it. It's the club as a whole is an absolute massive pile-up. It's a massive car crash at the minute.
It needs some decent laxatives. That's what it needs to release all of the inner poop. Okay, right, we will leave it there. That's probably the longest match preview we've ever done. We said 15 minutes and we've done double that, so apologies, John. Guys, make sure you hit the like and subscribe video. Shit, honest to God, I'm all over the place with this team. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, follow us on socials, and we will see you for, unless anything happens, probably the match reaction and then the debrief. Peace.